There is the president, the chairperson of the President Fund for Creative Writing. Thank you for coming, ma'am. Distinguished guests, what you all observe because I have known all the names. And ladies and gentlemen, I am today part of the publication panel as well as your host and MC. Let me begin by telling you what we have done. Well, the first point I would like to tell you is a big thank you for coming to attend this launch of a book, the first publication of éditions Dodo. It's a book. I'm not going to review the book for you. We didn't expect a review, at least for today, but the weekly has done it already, so you will have a lot of things to know about it from the weekly. This book is the first publication, but not our first attempt, obviously. We thought of doing a very soft launch, and we invited the people we wanted to invite. And as you know, for a book launch, we never get more than the crowd that we have, and we were proud of getting this crowd. Only cocktails attract over 1,000 people. Next time we do that, maybe. Anyway, creative writing has been here with us for quite some time. But the mandate given for the President Fund is limited to only creative writing. Creative writing would mean stories, would mean poems, and that's all. And the fund allotted for that is very, very eager, very little. That if you apply and if your manuscript is accepted, I'm told you have to wait for 2 years before it's published. And if the writer is over 60, you might never see the publication. Then, there is another alternative. They give you 30,000, they ask you to publish the book and send them a couple of copies, which is again difficult. We don't publish anything with 30,000. We don't get anything in return for that money. Now, there are basic difficulties. One is creative writing itself. There is a structure to write. There is a structure that often writers challenge. Many of us are tempted to write, but cannot keep the writer engrossed in what to write. The reason is simple. For centuries, you must have heard about Aristotle. He had given to us the structure of good writing. And that would begin, but you should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And people learn it by heart. Even the school teachers learn it by heart. They will tell the student, there must be an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Without telling what that introduction is, what that body is, what the conclusion is. And there, where our creative writing fails in literature. Whatever we write, let me give you a format. If we have, let's say, something to be read in 1 hour, 17% of the time, or 17 pages, should go to introducing the characters in the book. It should begin with a value. By value, I mean, in a simple term, here now I see serious faces, very stoic looking. But after the function, I expect you to be smiling. When the value begins with a negative, it should end with a positive. If it begins with a laughter, it should end with a cry. So this is the first thing you should know about it. The beginning has been 17% of it. That's called the introductory. And something must happen to the main character in the book. Or the character that leads the story. Something must happen. If nothing happens, it's not a story. Myself, I wake up in the morning, I brush myself, I clean myself, I get in the car, go to work, return back home and sleep. There's no story in it. There's no story in it. I wake up in the morning, I rush out of my room, I slip down the stairs, and my wife shouting at me. There is something. That begins, that is called the inciting incident in a story. If there is no inciting moment, there is no creative writing. Then the development starts. If he fell down, what will the guy do? How will he stand up? Who will help him? What happens when he goes to the hospital? And until we reach the almost 60-70% of that development. That tells us now, gentlemen, this is the climax. They say we'll remove one of your legs. What will he do? The value changes again until we come to the denouement, the 70. That's creative writing, and here most of our writers have failed. And that's why we don't get an overseas market. Now in Mauritius, the second problem is the writer has no publisher. He has to hunt for publishers and self-publish his book, which we all know. That is very, very difficult. Publication in Mauritius may cost hundreds of pounds of money to publish 300 books. Now, after publication, to sell the book, people like to get books for free, complimentary copies. That too will keep in the home, never to be touched again. Read by cockroaches and other insects. People don't print, so you can't sell the book. Now, if you happen to, you can't distribute the book. If you give to a distributor, it costs you 40%. He takes 40% of that. Now assume the book has cost you 100. What will be your markup? And by the time you mark it up, what will be his? So that becomes a difficulty. So we had been discussing all these and to look for what can we do. Perhaps change the mandate of the President Fund for Creative Writing. Create MOUs with distributors abroad. We have to look for distributors from other countries. It is a slow process, but we can do it. I tell you the story of my own book. I published it last year. I didn't get the President Fund. They threw me out. They say, sorry, you don't afford it to get writing, because that was a research book on law, about governance and organization. So they said, I'm sorry, you can't publish it. So I said, all right. So I had it published in India, 6,000 copies, 3,000 sold in London, 2,500 in India, and 200 copies in Mauritius. So I'm still left with 200 copies in my hand. So I always keep some in my car to distribute to people, so that they at least know I'm writing. So this is the problem. We have to address it. Now, Kavi and myself belong to, usually he uses the word, Kavi Vadamutu arrived and met us. Myself, the Bishmadev Sibala, all of you may know him. He has been writing a long time back. He is no more. And it's at least a tribute to him also that we are here. So we met, and then Kavi, I will tell you a bit of things that I have written and kept here. This is only to recall because I'm old now, I don't remember many things quickly. So actually we had started a fund that was created by Kavi Vadamutu, 100,000 in collaboration with the Mauritius Writers Association. We did that, and then we allotted the prize also to a couple of Mauritians. Among them we had Lindsay Culling, we had Alexandra Isaac, Nikita Obigado, and Judd Ankia. But the prize was put on a hold because the association was dissolved, and finally we couldn't go further. We didn't have any support, and finally the group, the Vadamutu brothers, and I belong to that panel. I will change my name later so that they call me Vadamutu. They have created that fund and a publication that is called éditions Dodo. Éditions Dodo will be publishing books from Mauritius, provided the book is cleared by our panel. Because there are many things to look in a book. You can't write anything under the sun. There is a way to structure the sentences. There's a way to structure the paragraph. I don't think, I believe there is a student of mine in the class now, he's also a journalist. He was a journalist and he has been working for Comesan always. He will tell you that we used to teach how to shape a paragraph, how to write paragraphs. Many people are not taught in school. So I mean, this has also to be looked into. We have also a lot of other things to see in writing. We can discuss the script with a person before we accept publication. So Kavi has always said that, who is Kavi? I've been talking 5 times I said Kavi. Let me see. The long thing I've written, sir. you will bear with me. Let me present you to them, to the crowd. This is my friend Kavi Badamutu. Once he told me this sentence. Do you mind if I tell them this sentence? What is that bit he said to me? Yeah, this is what he said to me. I left Mauritius 50 years ago. I said, is it? He said, yes. And then why? Well, that was 1968. Mauritius became independent. So he misread that independence. He thought that is his independence. So he flew from his country. And he called himself a déraciné. No, it's self-déraciné. He uprooted himself and went away, but never forgot Mauritius. Mauritius remained close to his heart, and he promoted the Mauritian culture, Mauritian values, but at the same time thought about writers. Then we had, when the Mauritius Writers Association had written this, Kavi, now a retired psychotherapist, left Mauritius almost in 1968, when Mauritius had gained independence. He had lived une vie de déraciné, a life of an uprooted, he says. Self-uprooted, I said. I added that for you, sir. Mauritian by birth, but Welsh by adoption. He lives in Wales. So he holds a master's in philosophy and a doctorate in psychoanalysis, dismemberment and embodiment. He studied at Swansea University, Leeds University and St Albans College of Arts and Design. He also followed a course in architectural glass at Swansea Arts College. He writes, he paints, he sculpts and makes glass and enamel jewelry. He does all that. Now, I don't know, he wears different caps, very difficult. Now, we have equally about him, we know. He has his art has been exhibited at the Salon des Beaux-Arts in Paris, exhibition French-speaking artist, the African Arts Centre in London, Islington Public Library School, the Dial Thomas Theatre in Swansea, the Tellson Arts Centre in Swansea, and then a lot of it, the list goes on and on. But I would like to read something which has been written about him for you. What he says, it is he says, I wish to add my voice by articulating my thoughts derived from a long period of incubation about some taboo subjects in the Rainbow Island. There has been a myth prevailing among some that we started openly debating past FOPA. It would sponsor communal riot, that's why. How can we start? How can we dream about a true multicultural or intellectual society in a Rainbow Island if we never take the risk to name the unspeakable? Apart from a few activists who have been there or were there to put their heads above the parapets. It is as if open debates have been read sometimes as something reprehensible that would destabilize our society, ignoring the truth that historically the resilient and flexible texture of the Rainbow Island has laid the ground for an arena of openness. Instead, a collective silence bordering on dangerous and toxic complicity has been sponsored. If this silent toxic bubble persists and is not confronted and mourned, our democracy could be seriously undermined. This sets the tone of our publications. We have in this publication invited people from different parts of Mauritius. Their writings were in the attics. We pulled that from there. We looked at them. It took us a long time. It's no easy task to produce a book. You know, writing is easy. Producing a book is more difficult. It's a work that takes all your time, all your imagination. And we come now with this first publication. I have spoken to our president, for example. The president and myself are known for years now. Been together at the MIE, we have been friends, and now he's my president. And we have been in the same class also, studying, but he's a man of literature, basically. And so this is why we brought him here to launch this book. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I won't take most of the time because in a book launch we talk a lot. All I have to tell you, the Dodo publication is born, edition Dodo is born, thanks to the Madame Two brothers. Number 2, the edition has a panel. Number 3, this is our first publication coming straight from the attic. Now later will come from the drawing room, I don't know. So these are the work we are doing and we'll continue doing the work, contributing to the literature in Mauritius. Now I have the pleasure to invite a colleague who has written the preface of the book, Sushila, to say a few words. I mean, you're hiding there. Can you come please and say 2 words? Not more than 2. Say good morning or good afternoon. Thank you. Please, this is Sushila Gopal, who has written the preface of the book.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Here. Thank you. Thank you all friends here. I will name only a few, I will give only a few pieces of my writing on the book. Actually, I must tell you, when I wrote the preface, I was working with each piece, and the preface itself comes, it's an informed preface. It's not a lip service preface. And while I was doing it, I went through each piece in a very serious manner. However, today maybe I will mention just a few. First of all, the title. The title, I must say, was very intriguing. Voices from the attic. I first thought, I thought when it was romantic, but also there must be a reason why the voices are after 50 years. Thank you. So, there must have been a lot of hushed voices there, des rugissements. And today we have it, the voices of the video, and I'm sure it's going to have the next 50 years. Dr. Chemen has put his finger on a very sensitive issue. The discrepancy between the inhabitants of Mauritius, but at the same time, each time when you open our newspapers, it is horror. This discrepancy. I was very glad to see Mr. Govindan's Dimash writing the revival methodology. That was very encouraging. I will just name a few. I hope the others won't mind because of time constraint, and I know you have been sitting here for some time. Mr. Shyam Roy, as I say, Mr. Sipasai has almost reviewed the books published on Sir Sip Sabar Ambulam, but he has also opened a vista, opened a door for other researchers. I hope people will take it up. Mr. Rama Badamiki, Cible culturelle. I'm sure if Mr. Gabi, Madame can find in space in Africa, the genocide of our buildings, we are wiping out all our history. The railway platforms, first of all, beautiful buildings, the railway stations. There is one which is crying for attention at Edgemead. Each time I go around there, my heart bleeds. Sylvia Plath, the haunting habits. Everyone I think who works on Sylvia Plath feels her presence maybe at night. She's her long hair. Well, Alain Mignon done something very interesting in taking up the lizard, our gecko, liaison, Tiktikwa. It's very, very interesting because people take up, the big animals, the big cats and so on. Well, in Brazil, they take up the mosquito. They think that the mosquito protects them by keeping away foreigners. The village doctor, Ram Sigurd, in his short story, we have Lancent, the dog. The dog becomes the hero. That's very interesting. A very nice piece by Lindsay Land, where she takes up animals 105,000 years ago. They were talking. Then she gives them figures 500 years ago, and then 50 years ago. That's very interesting. We also have Mike Jenkins visiting India and seeing India through Gandhi. Each of his 12 other kids and epigraph from Gandhi. So makes us also see. Well, in this collection, in the Voices from the Happy, I don't know who were living whether they were all Mauritians or foreigners, but I see if you Martin Lamb, he takes up the language of T.S. Eliot. Well, that's about it. I don't want to go into details, but I will conclude in one way. We have here, in this collection, that have been saved, stashed, stored for specific reasons. I'm sure while reading it, you will see the reasons. Thank you very much for listening to me, and good writing, good reading to everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. You have touched almost most of the stories written by Mauritian. There are foreigners also in that. But at the same time, I'll tell you, we have given space to all the languages spoken in Mauritius, major languages, obviously. We have Hindi, Bhojpuri, we have got English, at least one by my friend Sukulal, who was contributing there at the back. And then we have got an English, French, and all languages you can imagine. We would have loved to publish all the languages in this. Yes. Thank you. He's remembered that. Anyway, now I have the pleasure to invite one of the founder members of éditions Dodo. He's not here. He's a Mauritian, but now he's living in Australia. He's a person who thinks more about Mauritian than Australia. He's Ivan Badamutu. I would call him to say a few words. He'll finance our publications, I must call him.
Good afternoon to you all. And Kavi suggested I write a few things about this book. I thought at the time it was a good idea. Just standing here, I'm having my doubts. Because I've never done this kind of speech before. Anyway, welcome to you all to the launch. And I think this opportunity to thank His Excellency Vayapuri, the acting president, who has taken the time available to meet his busy schedule. And also the contributors, not forgetting the media. Thanks also for Dr. Sushila Gopal, for a review of the book, and Mr. C. Parsad and Jeannie Suku for all their hard work behind the scene to make this launch possible. The last 50 years has indeed flown by. I remember I was only 19, and the debate at the time was whether we should be staying as a colony for Britain or become independent. 50 years on, we should have no doubt that the decision we took 50 years ago was the right one. For me personally, the only sad and upsetting things is that even though Mauritius is still a young nation, I personally have lost my youth. Because I was only 19 in those days, so that's the only regret about this. As to our independence, there's a lot of things we should all be proud of and to celebrate. We have definitely made our ancestors who came to this shore either slaves or indentured labor proud. They were treated in the most inhumane fashion. Let's not ever forget that dark episode of our history, as this is the only way we can stay humble, irrespective of our successes and achievements. If we have to use the metaphor of the balance sheet, on the credit side we have built a few solid foundations which will continue to propel us forward. In the last 50 years, we have transformed a monoculture economy into a vibrant and diversified one. We are one of the highest per capita income in Africa. Moreover, we often use as an example for other developing countries to follow. What has really made us strong as a nation is that we have used our diversity in a positive and constructive way, unlike some other countries. Instead of fighting with each other, we have been competing with each other, and thus we have grown stronger together. We have a relatively solid education system and a welfare state that other countries would be proud of. We have a well-educated and entrepreneurial nation, and together we can go forward with confidence and determination. Here, I would like to recognize and acknowledge the important role women have played in every aspect of this society. Moving forward, they should still use every opportunity available to them to better themselves and above all, to maintain their independence. Being independent comes mutual respect and responsibility. You have your own unique qualities and characteristics to be yourself. You would know you have reached your objective when there is no need for a ministry purposely for the advancement of women. Just to remind us that it's only a few weeks ago that women were given the right to drive in Saudi Arabia. However, one important lesson we have learned from our simple journey that we cannot afford to become complacent. We can afford to sit on our laurels and lose our wings. For a tiny island in the middle of the ocean, we have a lot of challenges facing us. To mention a few, climate change, a fast-moving, challenging and changing technological world, and an uncertain economic environment. To meet those challenges, we need to use all of our resources available to us. Our human capital, know-how, historic determination as we have shown before. The only way we can do that is to provide a level playing field and a more meritocratic society whereby opportunities are available to everybody to achieve their full potential. Moreover, one area which will determine how much progress we make moving forward is in the political process. One thing we need to realize is that the democratic system has changed and has evolved, but with the order has not. We still believe in casting our vote every 4 years, and quite satisfied we've done our civic duty. What we don't realize is the political environment has changed, and there are lots of new powerful players with their own agenda who lobby the government on a daily basis. The reality is, if you're not vigilant, it's the agenda that gets priority in the judicial process. The one way we the voters can do this is to keep the politicians more accountable and more importantly keep them guessing on how we are going to vote. The way we hire a contractor to do a job should be the same way we hire our politician. We should constantly monitor the job they're doing. If they do not perform to our satisfaction, they're not hired again. Once a politician takes your word for granted, they forget about you. If you don't believe me, see what have happened to the African American voters with the Democratic Party in America over the years. Moreover, we have to maintain a sound democratic system. We need to make sure we reinforce the independence of the institution, for example the judiciary, to enable them to perform their responsibility of check and balances on the government. Another aspect we have to be very mindful is that with a population of 1.3 million living on a small island, we have to coexist and live in peace. So we have to maintain this harmony and coexistence, or we will have too much to lose if we don't. There's no space for extremism of any kind, being religious or political. We have to be vigilant and on our guard to identify and deliberately ignore those false prophets who are trying to promote their own agenda, and their agenda is not the Mauritian one. We're only good at bringing turmoils and human tragedies, and happy to watch on the sidelines in the comfort of their homes. Never forget what happened before the election for independence, when they started a racial conflict and the dire consequences the country had to endure. You can witness on your TV screen every night what extremism is doing in different parts of the world. We've come a long way, and we have learned a lot over the last 50 years. And moving forward, we will have to be mindful of how we look after our own environment, our relationship, respect for each other, and our comradeship, and above all, our Mauritian way of life. I would like to conclude on a lighter note. We the Mauritians, we love talking. It still surprises me to see two people meeting for the first time, and within a few minutes, you'd think they have known each other for years. After sharing their life stories, some of them even discover they are distant relatives. Also, we never refrain from giving an opinion on any subject, and we do so with conviction. Our two most important topics for the conversation is politics and sport. I remember a few years ago, Sir Alex Ferguson, the ex-manager of Manchester United on visit to Mauritius, observed how he was amazed at the support and knowledge that people in Mauritius have for his team. A few of them even talked and even prepared to offer him strategies and tactics for when he goes back to Manchester to use for his team. Even before social media became a phenomenon around the world, in Mauritius we have lived it all these years. It's all good and healthy. Please keep it up. Thank you very much for all of you.
Thank you, Ivan. Actually, it was not a speech from a politician. This is only an indication the kind of books we publish. There are topics told to you, the outline is already provided. We are not going to concentrate only on between quotes, the creative, poems and poetry, or stories and love stories, but essays, research papers on society, the way we live, and even on our gossip, sir, you forgot to mention our pastime is gossip mongering. That is what we cultivate more in Mauritius, and we have kept it, and this keeps us alive. So we will do, all round. Our topics will not be limited to one category of books. If we can, we will try to publish as many books as possible during the years to come. Now, I have deliberately missed one name. I have not mentioned one name, because that is the real engine behind the whole project and behind this launch. And you know, behind every successful man there is always a... Complete the sentence, please. Behind every successful man there is... The women are stable or shy. So there is always a woman. And we now invite Meryl Varamutu to say a few words, rather to read a message from one of the writers who is also behind this project, behind our copy, Mike Jenkins, a well-known Welsh writer. And this is how this publication is going international. We are not looking at the Mauritian, because I told you in Mauritius we can't sell too many books. If authors have to survive, we have to look at greener pastures elsewhere. Okay, so I invite you to read the message from Jenkins. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I have a message from Wales, where Cavi and I live when we don't live here. So, it's from the land of the dragon. I should say that the dragon is a symbol of Wales, even on the Welsh flag. So, here we go. From the lands of the dragon to the island of the Dodo, I would like to send best wishes for the launch of Voices from the Attic, edited by Cavi Vanimutu, a man of both vocations. I only wish I could be there, maybe one day. It's such a varied and adventurous anthology, both in terms of languages and forms, and I applaud Cavi for his work in bringing it together. I was delighted to be asked to contribute, and this was indeed timely, as earlier this year I visited India for the first time to attend the wedding of my older daughter to a man originally from Mumbai, most of whose family still live there. So, given the connection between Mauritius and India, I felt that my sequence of poems, based on the writings of Gandhi and observations of contemporary India, would be the right choice, and fortunately, Cavi agreed. I write in English, local dialect, and also Welsh. So it is truly inspiring to see so many different languages represented in a single volume. In the last decade in particular, a strong connection has been established between Cymru, that's the Welsh word for Wales, and Mauritius, and Cavi has inspired this. I have twice judged the prestigious literary award team-sponsored, along with my good friend, the Swansea artist and writer, Alan Perry. Alan visited your island a few years ago. It was very interesting to read such diverse work at that time. 2 years ago, saw the publication and launch in my hometown of Merthyr Tydfil of the anthology Older Dodos and Dragons, which I edited along with Cavi and the late great Swansea poet Nigel Jenkins. In that book, many of the finest writers from contemporary Wales and Mauritius shared a single collection, and it followed on from a similar anthology entitled Younger Dodos and Dragons. Your independence is being discussed and celebrated, but hopefully ours is yet to come. You might have heard the Independence for Wales movement. Like you, we are a small nation. We're about 3 million. Mauritius is just over 1 million, I understand. We're a small nation with a proudly outward-looking, inclusive vision. The dodo may be extinct, and the dragon of our flag mythical, yet in the land of imagination, anything is possible. Books like this, today, are meeting places across the ocean. Let's praise them. And also, Mike tells us that they will be having the launch of this book, today's book, when we get back to Wales, which will be well into next year. And this is from Mike Jenkins of Wales, poet, blogger, fiction writer and editor from Merthyr Tydfil, Cymru.
We expected that message.
The history of mankind, from the caves to the present civilization, has been a real ascent. It started with the work of the explorers, scientists, inventors, engineers, who built what we need in the material world. But there's a great contribution also from the thinkers, the poets, and the writers. And so I'm very happy to be in the midst of such people today. And I congratulate all of you, especially Kavi and the Dodo edition, for coming up with this collection of writings. I read, now when I hear reflections, voices from the attic, I think of haunted houses. But then I read at the back page that this collection is a treasure trunk retrieved from the attic with several compartments. That is, essays, short stories, poems, long and short, some translations, biographies and memoirs in the languages that we use in Mauritius: English, French, Creole and Bhojpuri. And I find that in the second paragraph on the back page, there are interesting questions that Kavi has put. And I would like to use this to make some comments on this production. He says, as this anthology coincides with the 50th anniversary of Mauritius independence, many contributors have delved into the politics of ethics and the ethics of politics, of what has transpired and what is in store for us in another 50 years. That is our past 50 years, reflections on our past 50 years, and reflections on the next 50 years. This is the job of the thinkers, as I said at the beginning. These essays, he says, are evocative of a prevailing anxiety as to the strength and fragile pillars of our insular democracy. Is it in tatters? It's a question that we have to ask ourselves, really. Will the few pervasive dents, and there are dents, in our Rainbow Island be democratically inhibited? We cannot wait for another 50 years to find out. We've got to stop thinking right from now. That's what he means, I think. One thing gleaned from these articles is the inevitable human drama of its ubiquitous corruptibility. That is, its universality of getting corrupted. And I turn inside and I find that Ivan Valamutu has written an article about the future. With some ideas on starting with our past. And he writes, in lots of ways we can count Mauritius as a lucky island. The emphasis on free education and healthcare was paramount. As a result, we are bearing the fruits today with a high level of education and a relatively healthy nation. Moreover, unlike other countries, we have used our diversity in a positive way. How true. Even before the word multiculturalism was coined, we had been living it through the last 2 centuries and are still living it. We can rest assured. We have benefited from the diversity of cultures, and this is reflected in our food, clothing, and hospitality. We have been competing at every level. Thus, we have grown relatively prosperous together. Mauritius enjoys one of the highest per capita incomes among developing countries. But at the same time, and he adds, from the Dodo we have learned the lesson that we should not rest on our laurels. We know that as there were no predators, they lost the use of their wings, and as soon as the first humans came, they quickly became extinct. So we have to learn from that lesson. And I say we have, because now we have managed to save some birds, beautiful birds that were on the verge of extinction, like the kestrel, the pig pigeon, the echo parakeet. And then he writes, from cyclones we have learned that we have to be prepared for all eventualities. For example, no matter how small we build our first house, we make sure it is in concrete and can stand any cyclone. And in fact, over recent years, there have been no calamity because of cyclones, because we have made it possible that we can resist cyclones. But in recent years, we have suffered from floods. We have not prepared for it. Now is the time for us to prepare to fight against floods. And there are millions of rupees being spent to ensure that the drains are in order. Now, what does our present and the future entails? Mr. Gopal mentioned how in our newspapers today we can only see a lot of horrors, that some of our tangible heritage are being uprooted. There are many problems, social problems related to drugs, especially synthetic drugs. Ivan has also spoken of extremism, so we've got to gear ourselves to face the future. So, but I think that we need not despair. When it comes to our multicultural nature of our population, I am very satisfied that all cultures are thriving in Mauritius. You have cultural centers, speaking unions, government is subsidizing for their development. And at the State House, many years ago, one of my predecessors, Mr. Kasamutin, set up a committee for the promotion of national unity. And I have relaunched this committee, and recently I attended a competition organized among tertiary students, an elocution contest on the theme, values that contribute to national unity. So, I think we need not despair, but we still need you, writers and thinkers, to analyze the situation and to come up with suggestions, with ideas to make sure that we take the right direction. So let me congratulate Kavi Radamitu and Sobanansi Pasan for their efforts that they've made to publish this book, Voices from the Attic, 50th anniversary of Mauritius independence. And I have heard Sobanan mentioning a few suggestions that I'm sure the president of the President's Fund for Creative Writing could take up in order to open the accessibility of assistance to authors. Now I have great pleasure, the great pleasure in launching this book in your presence.